Welcome back to Geeks.
I'm Maya.
I'm Keith.
And we know it's been a while, and sorry about that. I take full responsibility. The kids got out of school, and then we had to go on some college tours for my son, and I can't believe that we're at this stage already, but we are. So then after we got back from traveling, doing that, then we had my 25th wedding anniversary. Another thing, like, how did that happen? and so we've been kind of like doing all this. Yeah, really, that's what happens. Yeah, and I turned 53, right? Thank you.
Happy birthday.
I saw Hamilton, but that's another story. And anyway, it was fantastic. So now we're back.
Life entered. Things happen. Well, for her, my life has just been boring. I've just been going to work and going home and going to work and going home.
But now we're back. And so we were going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, but that's a little bit in the past.
Is that even still in theaters?
I know, right? I don't think so.
Then we were going to talk about Wonder Woman, which pretty much most everything that needs to be said about Wonder Woman has probably been said by other people and better. But there are a couple of things we want to address.
Yeah. So today, what I think we're going to do is just talk about a little bit about what, leftover stuff that we would like to discuss around Wonder Woman that, our thoughts. And also, last week we went with my son to go see Spider-Man, so we could talk a little bit about that, to sort of like catch up on everything and then go from there. So Wonder Woman, for me, I loved it. I thought it was a great movie. The thing that I would like to address that has always that's been bothering me since the
New 52.
Yeah, the New 52 post Flashpoint has been changing Wonder Woman's origin and taking away the clay origin. I know a lot of people say that it doesn't matter, but I strongly disagree. I think it's fundamental to the story of these women, Amazons on the island, who are making a world without male influence. And having Wonder Woman be created from the soil of the land, the clay is from the land, the soil from their land. So Diana becomes part of all of them because it's their collective land. And then the goddess Aphrodite bestowing the gifts upon her. So everything has come from women. The goddess is giving her the power, the island is giving her life, and the queen is wishing through love to have her daughter. So she's an island's daughter.
Yeah, I mean, she's the daughter of a matriarchal society.
Yes, completely. No male lineage at all. Yeah,
throwing Zeus into the mix and making her a demigod in the comics or full goddess in the movie goes against that. And it's introducing the male factor. We can't have Wonder Woman without having men in there.
Yeah. And it takes away from the core of her origin. And I know a lot of people say that it was fantastical, but everything's fantastical. Finding Eben Sur and getting the ring is fantastical. Sending a baby in a rocket and landing on Earth and kindly farmers finding is fantastical. Everything that we're reading has an element of fantastical in. Why is this clay with the goddess giving her life and the mother wishing for it anymore fantastical? I don't understand.
Plus, I mean, Wonder Woman is based on mythology, just like Thor. So if you have a mythological origin for it, makes sense. It really shouldn't be a problem, but apparently these days it is for people. So.
I disagree, but it is what it is, right? You can't change it, and I really enjoyed the movie, and I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I loved the movie. I wasn't sure because anybody who knows me, I loathed Batman versus Superman.
Oh my God.
And I did not
He
like...
and my son, you put them together. I tried to make him watch the extended version with me, and it was...
We revolted.
They revolted. It was like, what is this? Can't you people sit still? No.
We complained through the whole movie of what we watched. We watched about 2 of the 3 hours of it.
And then I gave up. I'm like, okay, you've beaten me. I can't stand one more minute. I'm listening to this. Where's the alcohol? And I was drinking wine too, so I was like, people, I need an IV.
And I didn't like Suicide Squad, so I was really nervous about anything further coming from the DCEU.
Yeah, my son too. They were talking to each other on Facebook before either of them saw it. Going, I don't know.
But I absolutely loved Wonder Woman. I've seen it
too.
4 times in the theater.
I've only seen it twice.
I could watch the entire No Man's Land sequence on infinite replay.
Yeah, it's great.
One thing that struck me in the movie from the very first viewing was how it sets up things for the rest of the DCEU. Specifically how it sets things up for the upcoming Justice League movies.
Yeah.
You have the Greek gods dying, and you have a reference for a great darkness. In Jack Kirby's New Gods, the very first line is, there came a time when the old gods died. So here we have the old gods dying, preparing the way for the new gods, for New Genesis and Apocalypse, the rise of Darkseid, and in the upcoming movie Steppenwolf, Apocalypse, all of the parademons and all of that. Darkseid, since the classic Paul Levitt's Keith Giffen story, Great Darkness Saga, has been referred to as the Great Darkness, at least in fan levels and everything. I don't think it's ever become a label for him in the stories, but Great Darkness is a reference to Darkseid. So I thought that was a nice little setup for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That was really good. And now we can see with the with the little teasers and previews we're getting for Justice League that it looks like that's where they're going. I just hope that it's more Wonder Woman in storytelling, and in logical storytelling than it was Batman versus Superman. Because I didn't hate Batman versus Superman at the level of these guys, but I saw that to me there was a lot of storytelling problems in there, a lot of assumptions you had to make to get to the next plot point, and I didn't care for it. I really loved Man of Steel. I did not like Batman versus Superman. I like some of it. Lois Lane scenes. I love the Lois Lane. I love the Lois Lane and Clark Kent scenes, but everything else, and Wonder Woman, of course. When Wonder Woman showed up, I was like, yes.
Pretty much. Critically, the Wonder Woman scenes in Batman vs. Superman are pretty much considered to be the best parts of the film. I think, ironically, all of the best scenes and story for the film involved the women, with Lois and the journalism and her relationship with Superman, Wonder Woman, and the storyline for the senator, her arc.
Yeah, that's actually true. And my daughter was saying after we saw Wonder Woman, she was saying, that scene. She brought up the scene independently between Lois holding dead Superman and Diana looking over at her. She's like, she goes, yeah, that ties in because you see, what just went on with losing Steve Trevor, and there was that sister bonding moment there that even they didn't have to say anything, and it's nice to go back and look at that scene and see that You know, it's really yeah. But so I'm hoping that Justice League, you know, as Keith was talking about, being set up this way, is you know, takes it forward, moves it forward, and
I'm not getting my hopes up, but I will be watching it. We'll see.
I have my hopes up, but I hope, we'll see. That's true. It's like we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's I find it amusing that they've done such an about face between the original teaser trailer for Justice League and the current trailers for it.
Yeah.
With the first one just being so dark and serious and angry and smashy, and the new ones being just loaded with one-liners.
Yeah, you know, it's sort of I hope.
I think the trailers have gone a little overboard in trying to erase some of that heavy feeling that the universe has had so far.
I don't even have a problem with the heavy feeling. I mean, I hope this doesn't become, you know, the Avengers 2 where they're clipping left and right while people are dying around them. I didn't like that at all. There's that one scene, Hawkeye's making jokes, and there's, you know, destruction all around him. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, it goes overboard and it becomes inappropriate.
Yeah, there's a balance that has to be.
But we'll see in the final analysis. I mean, these are trailers.
Right.
There are scenes that won't make it into the film,
right.
So, or will be edited differently from what we're seeing and have different meanings. So I'm not reading too much into all of that.
Right. And then, and it's okay. So then we saw Spider-Man, like I said last week. So this is probably a little bit more topical because it just happened versus this other one. And
okay, let me say first off that I am guilty of making a few jokes before the movie came out about the hot Aunt May. I am a Marissa Tomei fan. Have been since My Cousin Vinny.
Another person who's 53.
So, you know, I was making, you know, because they had cast younger for Aunt May.
Well, you know, and these are the people that were young when we were young. Yeah. They're our age. They're 53, 52. We were all kids together.
In like the first 15 minutes of the movie, there were 5 or 10 jokes and references in the movie to Aunt May being hot.
Yeah, that was kind of creepy.
And that just got really creepy. And
it's like we get the picture.
I'm not making any jokes about that anymore.
Yeah.
I still adore Marissa Tomei, but both for her acting skills and for her appearance. Yes. But I am not making that joke anymore.
Yeah. It was breaking the fourth wall a little bit too much. It's like too self-aware. It's like, yes, you know, you've cast Aunt May younger. We see it. We understand it. You don't need to keep making these jokes. It was enough in the Civil War movie when Robert Downey Jr.'s character said that, Iron Man said that, because, you know, in the breaking the fourth wall again, time ago.
That was very meta.
Yeah, because a long time ago they were involved, you know, when they were young, and so they were breaking that fourth wall too for the people who, you know, knew that, you know, who basically are age people who grew up with all that, and but I think too, you know, I enjoyed this movie a lot. I thought it was fun. I thought it was really one of those movies that for the first time I felt matched the audience that they were trying to talk to. Young, you know, high school kids. You know, it took place in a high school. He was surrounded by high school friends, and he was living, you know, the life of a high schooler. He had to worry about being caught. He had to worry about teachers noticing he wasn't there. So these consequences would, you know, I thought were good. I personally didn't care that nobody called Aunt May. They called her May because in my life that's how it is. My nieces and nephews call me Maya. They don't call me by any aunt. So, and my kids don't call any of my brothers and sisters brother-in-laws, any of them uncle or aunt. There is no aunt on my husband's side. Speaking, I realize that it's like my brother-in-law and his husband. We don't have an aunt, but they don't use those terminology, so it didn't stand out to me. Yeah. So I didn't care. But
I didn't think anything of it except for the fact that they did within the film at one point. I don't think anything of it because I know that people do that, so it was no big deal. The movie was a lot of fun. Michael Keaton is, as always, fantastic performance from him. I really didn't like all of the tech in the suit. I thought it was just ridiculously overboard even before he unlocked the training wheels.
Yes. It was ridiculous.
It was just insane.
Yeah.
It was inappropriate for the character, for everything that was going on. Yeah. A friend of mine was even just absolutely raving about the little flying spider. He said, "Spiders don't fly." Which is true. The tech was just really bizarre.
Yeah, it was, and personally, also they took so much from Ultimate Spider-Man's story. I personally would have rather a Miles.
Yeah,
character.
If they were going to reboot it again, it would have been nice to see a Miles, especially if it had been more of a legacy creation. Acknowledging that there is another Spider-Man, but here's a new one.
Yes. Yeah. You could even put them. People get mad. Put them in the same universe and have Peter Parker be the adult. But
Garfield wasn't a bad Spider-Man. Just his second movie was really awful.
But yeah, but all in all, it was just, I thought, a goofy way to spend a couple of hours, and I had fun. I laughed and I enjoyed it. Yeah. I didn't, it was, there's no, nothing to, it's like, to me it was like, eating cotton candy. I enjoyed it at the time. It was, then after it's over, it's like, yeah, okay. It is what it was.
It's worth a viewing.
I think so. I absolutely think so. I mean, you could. My daughter didn't go with us. She wanted to know. My son texted her and goes, "It's pretty good. You could wait until it comes on Netflix and you'll have a good time." So, there you go. And so I don't know what else is coming up.
I don't think there's anything superhero franchise until 4, and then Justice League.
Yeah.
So October and November will be big for the movies on there. Yeah. And on non-superhero comics, we've got Kingsman's coming up, and I think the Red 3 in December. We probably won't talk about those, but just going through the list.
Yeah. We could. I mean, nothing stops it from.
Well, no.
Right.
But,
and then, and sort of like in that realm thing is that Blade Runner is coming out, which isn't but I remember when the first Blade Runner came, I sort of was watching that and I'm like, and you see Harrison Ford come out and you're like, oh yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? It's like, does time just starts going like?
Okay. Since you brought up Blade Runner, let me just throw this out there. The original theatrical release of Blade Runner, I could never sit through. I hated it because of the voiceover narration that the studio insisted and forced on Ridley Scott. I could never watch it. I could never stand it because it's just sitting there reiterating what you're seeing on the screen. So in the 90s, when we finally got director's cuts that had taken that out of it, I finally got to enjoy the movie entirely. So yeah, I just thought I'd throw that in there.
That's about it. And I think our next installment is not going to be such a long
Yeah,
time away.
we'll be back much sooner.
Much sooner.
Thank you for your patience.
And yeah, right. And I think we're going to talk about, because we've been talking about this online, we've been talking this to each other, to other people, just about our feelings around the comic books, and just how it's changed from when we were reading it in the early 70s onward through all the changes in the 80s, which, had really changed the dynamic and changed the environment. Because as a girl, when I was a little girl reading it, I never felt the same, the same pushback from anybody the way that I see it now. And even, as an adult woman, sometimes I walk in to people young enough to be my children, say things, I'm like, what are you talking about? Why are you acting as if you know this? And usually my son or my daughter chimes in going, oh, you don't want to start this with my mother. And it's like, it's like, do you really want to measure appendages here? I don't think so. But
we'll be going over just the evolution as we see it of the industry and
our personal
storytelling,
experiences, right,
through the decades to bring us to where we are now.
Yeah, just, peppered, of course, with anecdotal references, because that's all really this is, right?
Yeah.
Your personal experiences. And also,
this isn't a thesis.
No. And also why we both think it's historical, when these comics were written too, when the time that they were written, the time that these writers grew up in is also, an important variable to take when we talk about it, because we're reading little time capsules of, of situations. It's not, written with today's, today's environment.
And that's the way it is.
Yeah. Right. So anyway, well, thanks a lot. And we'll see you again real soon.
Bye.
Bye.